2 minutes after 7, and the longest government shutdown in U.S. history is now history. President Donald Trump signed the bill last night after the U.S. House of Representatives sent the Senate deal to the Oval Office.
Well, it took 43 days, and now that stalemate is over, 8 Democratic senators ended up joining with Republicans to pass the bill.
I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness.
Parents trying to raise kids, farmers been hit. I mean, this is not over by any means.
The deal funds 3 annual spending bills and keeps the government funded through January 30th. It reverses the firing of federal workers by the Trump administration since the shutdown began, and it protects workers from further layoffs through January. It does not include an extension of health care subsidies that expire at the end of the year. It does promise a vote by mid-December regarding those subsidies, but there's no guarantee that that would pass.
Either Republicans finally decide to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits this year, or the American people will throw Republicans out of their jobs next year.
We got a lot of work to do on that. The Republicans would demand a lot of reforms before anything like that was ever possible.
Well, here's something that did receive bipartisan outcry in the bill, a provision that allows senators to sue the Justice Department when a federal agency searches their electronic records without notifying them. The language seems to help Republicans pursue damages if their phone records were analyzed after the January 6th insurrection.
The deal to reopen the government also guarantees federal workers are paid. That includes TSA agents and air traffic controllers.
Atlanta News First reporter Niamani Watson joins us live from Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. Niamani, when should things get back to normal?
Well, it honestly varies depending on who you ask. The FAA says flight cuts will remain in place for now. Meanwhile, some airlines say operations should return to normal within a few days. Now, just yesterday, Delta Airlines CEO said in an interview with CNBC that operations should be back to normal as soon as this weekend. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and the FAA say flight reductions will stay frozen at 6% instead of increasing to 10% because air traffic control staffing is improving. Airlines have been reducing flights since last Friday due to the shortages, causing a lot of headache for travelers. Atlanta-based Delta has had more than 2,000 cancellations since the FAA order was issued. Travelers say they are relieved about the government reopening and things returning to normal soon.
Needs their job, everybody needs their money. Holidays are coming, families are in need.
I mean, don't tell me how much money this is costing the American people, the American government.
Now, the FAA says they will continue to monitor staffing levels as the government reopens and controllers start to receive their back pay. Live at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport, I'm Niamani Watson, Atlanta News First.
And as everything starts to open back up again, we're going to let you know about the progress on AtlantaNewsFirst.com. You can also download our free app to get alerts, just like the one we sent you last night when the president signed the bill to end the government shutdown.